That happens naturally. All right, go
Yeah.
live. When you're old. Although, you're not much older than I am, Tom. How old are you?
We're probably shrinking around the same rate. Yeah.
Yeah, shrinking around the same rate. Oh, so much context is needed for that, and I don't think that the people on YouTube have heard the part of the conversation leading up to that. So
We're speaking of vertebrae, people.
oh man,
They got the good part of the conversation.
they
Yeah, right.
did, they did. All right, so I got that ready, and Tom, can you just give me some levels I can check?
Sure. StadiaCast of episode Future Create Us. Help can you dollar as a little as $4.
Okay, I don't. Oh, okay. Is that what it looks like to you?
No, I just read it backwards.
Oh, okay. That was scary. I thought maybe I had screwed up the show notes and
oh, sorry, no, I didn't mean
wrong.
to frighten you. That was that was always my thing when I would give levels off prompter, was to just read whatever was in front of me backwards.
Lloyd, can you read something backwards?
Sure. Welcome to StadiaCast. I'm Bill. I'm Lloyd, and today we're joined by author, podcaster Tom Merritt.
That wasn't backwards.
See, that means that his is backwards because he read it forwards.
I gotta
everything's
do my
backwards.
right to left.
All right. Well, if you guys are ready, I think that we are live and we are all set.
Roger, Houston. Go throttle up.
Sounds good.
All right. Here we go. No, we don't. I didn't hit record. I almost screwed that up.
Hey, this feels very familiar to me.
How so?
I do that about once a week.
All right. Well, the people, yeah, Vaxxer in chat is correct. I am easy to confuse. That is true. All right. Here we go for real this time. I'm not lying. Welcome back to StadiaCast. I'm Bill. That's Lloyd. And today we are joined by author and podcaster Tom Merritt, who's agreed to be on the show. Thanks for coming on, Tom.
Thanks for having me.
Before we get started, Lloyd and I record this show every week on Sundays at usually at 10 a.m. Eastern time, but today it's a little bit late, and that's okay. We record it live over at youtube.com/StadiaCast. If you want to leave a voicemail for the show, super easy to do. Just head on over to runjumpstomp.com/voicemail from any device, and we may even play it on the show. If you want to support StadiaCast, head on over to anchor.fm/StadiaCast and click the support this podcast link. For as little as $1, you can help us create future episodes of StadiaCast. Tom is a podcaster that I think both Lloyd and I have been listening to for a very long time. I used to load your podcasts up on my iPod Shuffle and listen to it on my... I had to drive over an hour to get to my college classes, and that's what I listened to, was you and Twit and all that stuff. So it's just really an honor to have you on the show. Before we really get started, can you give people like the rundown of who Tom Merritt is?
Sure. The thing I do that more people listen to than other things I do is Daily Tech News Show. It is what it says on the tin, daily show about tech news, Monday through Friday, with some special episodes and things like that, along with my co-host Sarah Lane, my producer Roger Chang, and a series of contributors and guests. I also do a podcast about science fiction and fantasy books called Sword and Laser, one about geeky culture called Current Geek, and one about TV shows and movies called Cord Killers.
And somehow he's able to find a way to talk to Lloyd and I. Is that pretty impressive, Lloyd?
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, just like you said, Bill, longtime listener. We used to set up projectors in the boardroom to watch like Buds Out Loud streamed episodes and things like that. So it's
oh my gosh, that's frightening to think about.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild to be here chatting. So this is it's gonna be a good episode.
I totally agree. Now let's go ahead and get started. And we're here to talk about Google Stadia. But not really today, because Microsoft has joined the fray, and they've let loose some information. There's the Project xCloud, and I just clicked the wrong button. There we go. This is coming to us from Xbox Wire, and who is it here? It says Kareem is posting about 3,500 games coming to Project xCloud, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh my God, Stadia they're done for. There's no way that they can compete against 3,500 games at launch." Tom, do you think they're right? Is Stadia gone?
Of course, no, an overreaction to every announcement is never wrong. No, it certainly is an important competitor to StadiaCast. Obviously, the current NVIDIA service also an important competitor to StadiaCast, or to Stadia. Not to StadiaCast. There's no competitors to StadiaCast.
That's right.
But yeah, this is something important because I think this just shows that this is the arena that a lot of companies want to compete in, and Xbox showing that they definitely are serious about this. The excerpt that y'all tweeted, I think, is important about the ease of development, because that's what's going to help you build these catalogs up fast. And I think the key to these services is having the games people want to play, not necessarily the number. You can fill it up with 3,500 games that nobody wants to play, and your service won't succeed. So it's not just the depth, although that depth helps you catch more people. It's making sure you have the titles that people want to sign up for.
Lloyd?
Yeah, I think also along with that, this is kind of the easy announcement to make, because these are games that exist in the past. These are all the Xbox One games that already exist. So they don't have to break any weird announcements. They don't have to wait for developers to develop for it. It's just they made a service or a solution that took an Xbox One and virtualized it in the cloud, and then every game that is already on the Xbox One is playable on the service. So it's easy to make that big splash. Every game supported 3,500. Stadia, who knows at launch what that's going to be? If they go like we chatted last episode with allowing as many developers in as they want. If you can develop for Android, you can develop for Stadia. They could very well have 3,500 games at launch. I do think that they're going to take a more measured approach. They're going to go slow with the big AAAs and some of the really high value independent indie game developers. But yeah, it's good to see Microsoft doing this, especially since Microsoft now is a company that doesn't say you need to buy a Microsoft brand PC with a Microsoft sticker in a specific place running Microsoft OS with Microsoft Office, Microsoft. They're like, we'll put Microsoft Office on everything. You can do it on your iPad. You can do it on whatever. This means that xCloud maybe come to the Nintendo Switch, coming to TVs, coming to laptops, means that this is really a true competitor to Stadia, where PlayStation Now, while it is already available on PCs and PS4s, they just don't have really the I don't know, the network presence to make that a very good process. So this announcement from Microsoft is just super exciting from a game player.
Yeah, and I know that they said 35. Everybody posted stories, 3,500 games on xCloud. That doesn't mean that it's going to have 3,500 games. If you look at the actual quote, it says has the technical capability to stream more than 3,500 games. That's very different than we're launching with 3,500 games. Now, is there any reason why a developer might say, you know what, I don't want that? I can't think of one. There's got to be somebody's probably going to, you know what it's going to be? It's going to be licensing. So maybe a game adaptation of some movie or TV show, and the licensing would cost too much to bring it over to xCloud. So not every game that's going to be on Xbox will be on xCloud, but xCloud certainly has the capability to run all of that stuff. Anything to add there, Tom?
I mean, the other thing I would underline is, because of what you just said, that means the 3,500 number isn't the thing to focus on. It's the availability. It's that it is easy for a developer to bring a title to our platform, says Microsoft, if they want to, and that's all Microsoft can do, and that is a good thing. As a customer, you want that to be easy. The next step is in the details, like you say, convincing them to do that. Are we going to get into battles where Google will strike exclusivity deals with certain developers or indie titles, the way Epic has been doing? That's the future of this marketplace. But right now, Microsoft is making it clear that there won't be any technical barrier from at least most developers.
And it seems like Google's very much playing this very close to the vest. They're letting very, very little information out, especially, I mean, we are coming up on E3 very soon, and we haven't heard a peep from Google since we've had like little tiny nuggets of information, but it's been like nothing for consumer wise. It's all been like, hey, developers, pay attention to us. But consumers have been like frothing, waiting for something from Google, and Google just hasn't told us anything. Are you getting like...
They've really commanded the loyalty of their engineers, haven't they? No leaks.
That's true. No leaks. Well, here's a leak that we can talk about, and it's from an APK leak. Sorry. This is from 9 to 5 Google, and Lloyd and I talked about this last episode. We talked about parental controls and how Google could hopefully do the right thing and give parents the ability to control what it is that their kids are seeing and playing and watching on Google Stadia. And we've got this APK from the Family Link, which I don't have an Android phone. I know that Lloyd has a regular phone, or an iPhone. Sorry about that. He's got an iPhone. Tom with Freudian slip. What do you use, Tom?
Well, I try to use both, just to keep my toes in. But I don't have I don't want to say I don't have a family. I don't have a need for family control, so I really haven't played around with those.
Fair enough. Well, Family Link allows you to basically say, this is when you can use stuff, this is when you can't. You can use it. I've used it a little bit for my son's Chromebook, but most of the stuff is very, very focused on phones and stuff like that. This APK, though, has some stuff in it from Stadia, which I guess had a code name of Yeti at some point. And so it says, in the Family Link 1.38 update, we find some strings referring to Stadia that point towards parent receiving notifications about their children's use of the service. This is exactly what Lloyd and I were talking about last time. Lloyd, can you kind of summarize real quick?
Yeah. So the one thing that we weren't really sure on and what we were wondering about is because we don't know what Stadia is. We don't know whether you go and you buy a game from the Stadia store and you own it, or if it's a streaming service, or if it's a combination of the two. We were wondering what they're going to do about approval, and the fact that there's an approval list in Family Link. So it means as a parent, I can say that my son can play Minecraft, he can play Fortnite, and he can play Assassin's Creed, which is a very mature game, so probably not one that I would let him play. But let's just say that. And it looks like there's going to be some way for them to pass notifications back and forth. So it looks like they're really building this deep into the rest of the controls that they have for the rest of their devices, which you could make assumptions that they were going to do that, but it's good to see some, concrete evidence that that's the way it's going to go. So yeah, it looks like in the future, you'll be able to approve your kids playing a game on Stadia, whether it's a game that you own or if it's one that's part of the membership program, if that is something that's going to happen.
What do you think about this, Tom?
Yeah, this is really interesting. The part that I found most interesting is that there's a reference to Family Library here, and that's not necessarily a smoking gun that this will be a for purchase. It could still be some kind of combination. I could still rationalize some reason where Stadia would just be an all-you-can-eat service that would still build a library of frequently played games, especially with a family where they want to play games with each other. They'd want to make it easy to find those sorts of things. But that said, the most likely reason to have Family Library would be if you could purchase titles or keep titles. So it does seem like there's a more of a possibility that would be an aspect of Stadia than I thought before.
It's funny that you bring that up because I have YouTube Premium, We got it because my wife and I wanted to watch Cobra Kai, and we were like, "Hey, Johnny and Daniel are going at it. We gotta see what's happening there." And the Movies Anywhere is this service that allows you to bring movies that you buy on one platform and bring them to another platform. So I tend to buy all of my movies through Apple because we have an Apple TV, and all of those movies were also on my YouTube like as purchased, and I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." So I told my niece who lives with us, she wanted to watch a movie, and I was like, "Oh, you could probably find it on YouTube because I own it on YouTube because she doesn't have her own Apple TV in her room, but she has a Roku, so she could probably watch it that way." It was not available. Like the movie, like even though she's part of my YouTube family, she didn't
Hmm.
wasn't able to see that particular movie, even though I could see it on mine. So I was very confused, and it. I don't think anybody's really got this nailed down yet. But if this is going to be easy, or if this is going to be successful, I guess is the way I should have said it, then it needs to be easy, and it needs to make sure that it's not confusing. Tom, you look like you got something to say.
Well, I'm just because I do cord killers, and we talk about movies anywhere all the time. I'm curious if it's a technical error on YouTube's part, if it's a design error, or if there's some weird licensing where YouTube doesn't allow you to share your movies anywhere movies across the family, because that shouldn't be the case. Movies Anywhere, the idea is if you own it one place, you own it in the other place, and you can do everything with it there that you could do with any other movie, unless YouTube doesn't let you share any of your purchases. That's why I have that face, because I'm like, why is that? That shouldn't be the way it works.
Well, if you're listening to this and you know the solution, then feel free to get a hold of us at StadiaCast, and let us know how it is that I'm screwing this up, because it's
Or
probably
YouTube.
me.
It could be YouTube screwing it up, not you.
It's possible. It's a complicated situation. Like I bought this movie a long time ago before this deal went through. So who knows? Maybe I'm just wrong about it. Let's switch over to Tom's Hardware. This is not this Tom. This is a different Tom.
Yeah, different Tom.
Sorry, man. I mean,
Still a great Tom, though. I love Tom Sawyer.
Tom's Hardware is talking about the architecture for Stadia. And this is where my eyes glaze over and I don't understand most of the stuff, the technical specifications of what exactly they're talking about. But there's so many Toms. That's correct. The thing to take away here is a lot of people saw this, excuse me, and they were saying, wait a second, Google Stadia is not using the newest stuff? What do you guys think about that, Lloyd?
Yeah, I mean, it's not unheard of for a new gaming product to come out using the not latest and greatest components. It seems like I'm very. GPUs kind of confuse me a lot because of all the differences between all the different companies. But AMD's graphics core Next is what they reference in this article, and it looks like Stadia is using version 1.5, where the most recent version is 1.5.1. So it's not like they're like using version 1 and 1.5 is the current version. It's a very small difference between what the latest and greatest 7 nanometer stuff is and what Stadia is using. But it totally makes sense because they've been working on this for years. So they would have had these engineering samples done years ago, and they would have been building all this stuff out and then making these rack mount server stuff that they're going to put into their cloud centers. So yeah, not using the latest and greatest isn't a big deal, especially since the way that Stadia seems to be designed, they can just keep upgrading these things. So you could have one of their edge nodes would have some of the new stuff and some of the old stuff. And if you're playing a game that requires 151, you'd be playing on the new stuff. Otherwise, you'd be playing on the old stuff. I really don't think it's a big deal, but it just shows like we don't have that much info. So everybody's grabbing on every little tiny little crumb and trying to make a meal out of it, which is pretty common with new product announcements.
Yeah, we're parsing this real close here because Kronos, who develops the Vulkan API, listing Google Stadia as a conformant product, and in the description saying they use AMD GCN 1.5. I mean, the first thing is that could just be old information. That could be, the website hasn't been properly updated or something like that. It could be that the Vulkan API is only using GCN 1.5, and all the Stadia implementations of 7 nanometer cards aren't technically conformant with the Vulkan API yet, even if they're using it, because this is a product that is not launched. This is a product still being tested. It could also mean, like you said, Lloyd, it could mean that they're broadly using the 14 nanometer cards right now, and by launch time they'll have both available. That makes perfect sense. So could be one or all of those things. I like you say, it's a little early to be parsing it that close and be worried about it, especially because GCN 1.5 is not a bad system, and 14 nanometer cards, I think a lot of folks would be happy to have a 14 nanometer card in their rig. So let's wait until Stadia actually announces what they're offering to people. Although I wouldn't be surprised if Google just never tells you that much, and just and touts their performance over the actual equipment that they're using, because maybe they know they can tweak out the performance out of older hardware because it's more well tested. Who knows?
Yeah, something that's more well tested is going to be easier for them to scale with it, because there's not unknowns there, and on top of that, the idea. Like, I like how you said that they're going to talk about performance instead of what it is. It's kind of like Apple phones versus Google phones. Like, a lot of Android phone manufacturers are always talking about it's got a Snapdragon, blah, 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 and it's got this and it's got that. And Apple's like, it's really fast.
Yeah.
So I think that this is totally fine. And even if it is true that they're running on 14 nanometer stuff, the thing that I think a lot of people forget about when we talk about Google Stadia, and this is going to happen again when PlayStation unveils or Sony unveils their PlayStation 5 stuff, and Microsoft unveils their Xbox, whatever they call the next thing stuff. People are going to look at that hardware and they're going to compare it to Stadia. And what they don't understand is that this is not a thing that you're going to buy for your house, so you don't have to worry about it becoming obsolete. Whenever Google starts seeing, like, oh, well, these new games that have been coming out, they're pushing our hardware to their limits. Let's start replacing that hardware with something better. And it doesn't incur a cost to the end user. And it just makes it frictionless for the end user. So I think this is mountains on a molehills, but you know how it is. Everybody, I think that Lloyd put it the best way. Everybody's trying to make a meal out of the crumbs. That's a really good thing.
Yeah.
Now, Tom, you and I were talking about this before, and you said that you had thoughts about this next story. You want to lead us off?
Sure. So earlier, let's see, back on May 16th, Reuters reported Microsoft and Sony announcing a partnership for using Microsoft Azure to provide Sony services, including gaming, and Sony providing image sensors to Microsoft for some AI. And then it came out in an interview with Sony CEO Jim Ryan during Sony Investor Relations Day on May 21st, that is a memorandum of understanding. And this has been kind of batted around in the headlines as Sony and Microsoft are partnering on gaming. Oh, wait a minute. No, they're not. It's just a memorandum of understanding. So that might all fall apart, when I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. A memorandum of understanding between Microsoft and Sony is a big deal. And Sony deciding to take Microsoft Azure on as a client makes perfect sense. Beyond just gaming, Sony PlayStation View could potentially run off of that. Microsoft being able to get access to Sony sensors to be able to do some computer vision stuff makes perfect sense. So this is a big deal, and just because it's a memorandum of understanding doesn't mean something isn't going to happen. It is quite likely that this partnership will go forward. It never meant that Sony would have cross-platform compatibility with Microsoft's cloud streaming service. That is a possibility, but it was even if Sony just decides to use Azure as the basis for all of its cloud streaming. It wouldn't have to provide cross-platform. And I think that's probably what Ryan was trying to tell people is like, hold on, we're just exploring what we'll do together with these services. We're not saying that this or that service is going to change in any way. So that's why I think the truth is somewhere in the middle of these two extremes of, oh, Sony and Microsoft are partnering on gaming. Oh, wait, no, they're not. They're partnering on cloud services, and that seems to be pretty solid. Although, the deals fall apart all the time, but it seems like that's going to happen, especially because they're putting out pictures of their two CEOs like arm in arm, giving each other a hug. So it feels pretty solid. Whether that means anything else for Sony gaming and Xbox compatibility, who knows? They probably haven't had those discussions yet.
I personally doubt that we're going to see compatibility between Xbox and PlayStation. I think I agree with Tom. It's really more about just Sony is going to be a customer of Microsoft, and that feels like what Microsoft has been doing for a while now. Like, they don't seem to care if they win; they just want to make money. It's like when they went to the developers of Cuphead and they said, "Will you make a version of this for the Switch?" And, everybody's like, wait a second, hold on. You want us to make an Xbox exclusive game available on your competitor's platform? And they're like, yeah, because we're the publisher and we're going to make money every time they sell one. It makes perfect sense. Lloyd, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree. Like, all the memorandum of understanding means is that they've put the guns down, or maybe just unloaded them. They might still be holding the guns, but there's no bullets in the gun. It's similar to Samsung working with Apple. Like, they're in litigation for years, yet they're buying products from each other, and it's the weird way that corporate America works. So yeah, I mean, this is good. It means that at least they're going to be exploring some possibilities. Sony has had some issues in the past with their infrastructure, with the whole hack thing and credit cards getting stolen, and they've redone some of that themselves, and they've been working on the way that their online stuff works. So maybe having some resources from Azure would be a good thing for them for that, having a lot more presence around the internet for some of that data. There's probably a million different things that this partnership could end up in. It just doesn't mean that anything is going to happen. But you don't, as you said, Tom, you don't have these PR stage photo shoots unless there's something happening. There's a there, but we don't know what that there is yet.
Yeah, that Samsung comparison is a great one, because Samsung and Apple in some arenas, like you say, they hate each other, they sue each other, and then at the same time, Samsung's selling their silicon to Apple happily and raking in the money, because these companies, you got to remember, these companies are huge. There are huge differences between the divisions and what their goals are. So yeah, I think a side note to this that could be interesting is that BAMTech is one of the premier servers of online streaming video. It's what Major League Baseball uses. It's what Disney uses. And Disney is a majority owner in BAMTech and is going to be moving more services onto it. And it's universally hailed as one of the strongest streaming provider backends. HBO Now uses it, for instance. So Sony may be looking at that and saying, well, we don't want to give more money to Disney. Let's see if we can shore up our backend and improve our streaming reliability by having Azure. I'm not saying that that's the only reason that this partnership would be considered, but it's another element of it. So it's not just all about gaming.
And there are a million people who were and I kind of fell into the same trap. I was like, oh, look at this. It's Sony and Microsoft teaming up because they're scared of Google. And I mean, maybe, but this deal might have, I mean, it takes a long time to do these deals. And like Google I know that it feels like it's been 10 weeks because we've been doing StadiaCast for episode 10 now. It feels like it's been forever, but there's no way that this deal wasn't in the works before the Stadia announcement, or am I wrong about that?
I mean, I guess there is a way, but it seems unlikely. It's, these things do take a long time. So Stadia might be part of the motivation here. It's certainly, if this deal was already in the works, once Stadia comes out, it's another reason, to make sure that you shore up your service. But it's either way, it's not the prime motivator. It's not the only motivator.
All right, let's take a quick break. We will hear from a sponsor, and then when we come back, we'll get to your feedback.
Have you played Atari today?
All right, we got a couple of tweets that were sent. One of them is from Anthony Talcott, and he's actually tweeting this in response to Google Stadia tweeted out, this summer, 3 of the wishes you've been asking for will finally be granted. We're going to get a price reveal, game announcements, and launch info. And then they said, stay tuned here for more Stadia details coming soon. Of course, the soon should be in giant question marks with a TM at the end. How long, Tom? I mean, Lloyd and I have talked about this extensively over the last 10 damn weeks, but how long do you think we're going to have to wait? Because Lloyd and I are sick of waiting.
Yeah. I mean, when they say this summer, it makes me wonder, like, does this mean not E3? Because E3 technically happens in the spring. And it wouldn't surprise me if Google wants to have its own standalone launch, wants to react to announcements at E3, with more details. So, yeah, I guess, September 20th, it could be even and still technically be in the summer. I'm not sure that's what the PR people think when they make these announcements. So I would say definitely by July. That's my gut feeling, if not before.
What do you think about price? What is the price that is going to convince Tom to throw down his hard-earned cash for Stadia?
Free.
So if it costs something, you're not interested?
I sort of throw that out because I think it's quite possible that Google does free, and there will be some kind of premium tier. And maybe that explains the library. Maybe there'll be like a free version that everybody can access. And if you want to keep things in your library, and access them regularly because there's some limited editions on the free tier, then you got to upgrade.
Okay, I can see that. Lloyd, what do you think the price is going to be?
I don't know. I've gone back and forth so many times. I do think there's going to be a Netflix model for a lot of their content. Maybe not the most recent games. I could see them wanting to do like, I don't know, $10 a month for access to an extended library of Stadia games. But maybe that's not available right at the start because we don't have a library of Stadia games to then have an extended library of Stadia games yet. So I think, yeah, Tom, free would be fantastic. At least if you get a demo. Like that's one thing we brought up a few episodes ago where we said, like every game, say Google says, okay, if you want to release a Stadia game, you have to have a 30-minute demo. So you could play the game free for 30 minutes. And then at the end of that, you can choose to pay for a week or a month or whatever. I mean, stuff like that confuses the market a little bit, but having that content available so that it is as easy as going to YouTube, watching someone play it, and then clicking play and jumping right in without putting in a credit card, buying a game, making the cost benefit analysis. Am I going to get my $60 worth for this thing? Would be a really good thing for Google, but yeah, I don't know, Bill. I'm just as confused as I was in episode 1 as to what they're going to do. Like they could do all of it or none of it. It's really, this is like the first time I can think of in the gaming industry where someone's coming in and they're not following like the common path that every developer or every hardware manufacturer does, where you announce your product, you sell your product for $300, you sell your games for $60. They're available in stores. Here you go. This is just completely new. It's like, yep, here's the thing. We're going to be announcing it. We're going to be giving you details later. Have fun. Developers like us. And it's just, there's a lot of confusion as to what this could be. So yeah, I'm no closer to a good thought on what this price is going to be, because it could be anything really.
For me, I think, and I've been wrong about many things, so take that with a grain of salt. But I think that they are going to do a free version. It's going to be 1080p, 30 frames per second. See, instead of gating your access to the games, I think that they will gate your access to resolution. So 1080p, 30 frames per, or maybe even 720p, 30 frames per second for free. And then if you want to get the the 1080p 60 frames per second, then you pay $5 a month. And if you want to get the 4K 60 frames per second, then you're going to pay $10 a month, and so on. And the price keeps going up. And they even said back at the original keynote or the original announcement for Stadia, they said that in the future, this is going to be 8K, 120 frames per second. That's going to be the top tier cost for what you're going to pay for. And I think that that's really smart because there's a lot of people out there like me who I have 1080p. I'm surrounded by 1080p monitors. I don't have a 4K monitor anywhere in my house. Well, I do have one 4K TV, but it's a very small TV. And the only reason I have it is because there wasn't a 1080p TV that came in that size that was cheap enough. So
Yeah.
for those people, I don't want to pay for something that I'm not going to be able to utilize. And that's the way I look at it. I think that's going to be their pricing model. Tom, you look like you have something to say.
No, I'm just agreeing with you vehemently. That makes perfect sense that they would charge you by frame rate, by latency, by service, and maybe that's why they have all those 14 nanometer cards for all the free users.
Oh, there you go. Look at him bringing things back around. I know you hate it when people step on your segues like that. I'm sorry, Tom. I couldn't help it.
No, it's fine.
Anthony Talcott did tweet at us, and they said, question for the podcast. What games do you think will be unveiled? What price point do you think? We already covered that. What do you think? Do you think there will be a demo service exclusive to Pixel users? Lloyd, what do you think?
A lot of questions there. For one, what games do you think will be unveiled? I do think Stadia is going to have like one big blockbuster that they're going to unveil at their big press announcement, whenever that is. And I was thinking about this recently with GTA 5 basically being in the top 20 games since it came out 6 years ago, which is ridiculous. I don't understand how that is a thing. But the reason why it is there is because of people buying money to then play their GTA online stuff. So I was thinking, well, maybe GTA 6 or something along those lines will be the big blockbuster that is free to everybody. Here you go. You can jump into GTA. You can play a story. You can play an online thing. And then they're going to make their money through those microtransactions. Because then that doesn't hurt the developer by not selling their $60 game because they are already making millions of dollars through microtransactions. Something like that could be one of the big games that is announced. I guess the next question is, do you think there'll be a demo service for Pixel users? I don't know. I think they are really going to want to give demos to everybody that wants to play it over the first little bit. They're going to say, here's Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Everybody played it already for free, so we might as well give it to other people. I think there's going to be something like that because they want people to know that if you can watch YouTube, you can play a game through the service. And there's a lot of fear out there right now where it's like, I live in rural areas and I don't have fast internet. And you ask them, well, can you watch YouTube or Netflix? It's like, yep. It's like, okay, well, then you can play a video game because the upload isn't going to be, if you can get the data down, that's the big pipe. It's the upload doesn't matter too much because, well, unless you're using like satellite internet or something like that. So I think there is going to be a demo for that, just to give it to everybody to say, hey, try our service. We're new, but it's going to work for you.
Tom?
Yeah, I think I have no idea what games would be the ones they'll come out with. Part of my brain goes to if Epic would want to cooperate with them to get a little goodwill back for all the exclusives in their store, also to stick it to Microsoft because Epic sometimes just likes to stick it to Microsoft. But I also think it won't all be shooters. It will be shooters, but when you're thinking about Pixel, big games like Civilization coming to mobile are always a big deal when they make those ports. So I would look to some games like that people say, well, you'll be able to play this on your phone, and the phone will be a good experience. So yeah, that's where my head's at.
What about the Pixel thing? You think they'll limit it to Pixel users?
I mean, I agree with Lloyd. There'll be a demo service for everybody. So why wouldn't there be a Pixel one? Maybe there'll be some exclusive titles for Pixels, to sweeten the pot, which they like to do. That's my best guess.
Fair enough. For me, I really hope that they. I think personally it would be a mistake for them to say, here's some exclusive for Pixel users, because while I do think that would help Pixel sales a little bit, I think it would also give a lot of ill will, kind of the way that that while what's the Epic Games is giving away free games every week, they're also getting a lot of ill will from the community at large for what they're doing. And I feel like a demo that is exclusive or stuff that's exclusive for Pixel users, that might rub people the wrong way. And I think that that would be a mistake, at least in my opinion.
Depends on how they construct the tiers, right? Like if they unlock a game for free to Pixel users that is otherwise available on a paid tier, that might risk less backlash than if something was just available to Pixel users that wasn't to other people.
That's true. This is kind of weird. What if, and of course we're just prognosticating here, but what if they just said Pixel users get a discount? So, they get this, the pricing model that I talked about before, where it's 720, 30 is free. Maybe for Pixel users, it's 1080, 60 is free. And then each one that you go up is just a little bit cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really good call. That seems likely.
At least I think that would make a lot of Pixel people happy, and it would encourage a lot of people to maybe pick up a Pixel, which I've always kind of been Pixel curious. Every time I see their stuff, I don't want a Samsung, but a Pixel looks really good to me. All right, well, Tom, where can people find your stuff?
A couple ways. DailyTechNewsShow.com if you want the tech stuff that I talk about. CordKillers.com for the Cord Killer stuff. TomMerritt.com really collects it all together. That's 2 R's, 2 T's. And if you want an email every week just telling you all the different things that I do, sign up at freetomnewsletter.com.
And Lloyd, where can people find all of your stuff?
You can check out all the podcasts I do over at rez.tv, REZD.tv. I'm also on Twitter. If you want to get a hold of me, ask me questions, bug me about my Canadian saying of the letter Z, you can do that at Dasme, DASME.
And you can follow this show on Twitter at StadiaCast. You can follow me at RunJumpStomp. Be sure to use the hashtag StadiaCast when you tweet at us so that we can figure out exactly what it is that you are tweeting about. We'd like to thank the unofficial Discord server for the official Stadia subreddit for letting people know about our show, which you can check out over at bit.ly/Stadia Discord. Music that you are about to hear is Subterranean Kamikaze by Zircon. You can check out their stuff at zirconstudios.bandcamp.com. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Lloyd. I'll see you guys next time. All right. Thank you very much, Tom, for coming on and hanging out with us. That was really awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for going a little later. It was easy that way.
No, it was no big deal. Lloyd leveraged his birthday in front of the wife and said, "It's my birthday weekend, so you're gonna let me do this." And my wife is shopping, so she doesn't care.
Oh, happy birthday!
No, thank you.
You don't look a day over 21.
43 this year, which is amazing to me. I can't believe that I'm that old, but there you go.
That is upsetting. I thought that I was older than you, and I'm not. So that makes me
I turned
sad.
49 this summer, so
he doesn't have any gray in his beard, which is very irritating.
I got 3.
Oh, they're coming. They're coming.
Yeah, they're coming.
They're gonna pop out. It seems every time I sneeze, I get another one. So I'm gonna try to not sneeze anymore.
Yeah, just lean into it. Start coloring other ones gray.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so this is StadiaCast 10. Well, Tom, thank you very much. I know that you are incredibly busy, so if you gotta head out, that's cool.
Yeah, thanks, you guys. I'm going to go get into the rest of my Memorial Day weekend. But thanks again for having me. This was really good. Really good show.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Tom. It was a lot of fun.
Take care.
See you, man. All right. Oh, my goodness. So, Lloyd, what'd you think of the new layout and stuff? Did it work? Was it okay?
Oh, I love it. Oh, yeah, I love it. I love your rounded corners. Are you doing that with a plugin?
No, I made a mask, an image layer
okay.
mask where it's white in the middle. Let me just fix you so that it looks next time. Where it's white in the middle, and then black around the outside. And I made it in GIMP, and then I laid it on top, and then I just put a drop shadow of the exact same shape underneath, and just shifted it over just a little bit. That's
Cool.
not the right thing. Where's the two cameras? There we go. I couldn't find this. Man, you are a giant person on this screen. There we go. Oh, now he's normal size.
There we go.
There we go.
Oh, that's cool.
So what are your plans for your
Just with
birthday?
your,
You gonna go do something fun?
I'm getting over a flu.
That
I had a fever of 102 on Wednesday and Thursday, and I'm just like, oh my God, my life is ending. It's like one of those ones where it just hits you hard. So we were supposed to do like my birthday dinner. My birthday was yesterday, so we usually do like a barbecue or something and have a couple beers and just have a fun dinner. But yeah, that's not going to happen. So I think for the rest of today, I'm going to be playing some Fortnite with the kids and relaxing. And then I think next weekend is really going to be when the big birthday dinner and celebration is going to be, because I was like literally dead to the world until about 8 p.m. yesterday. And then I kind of snapped out of it. I think the adrenaline of I got a big podcast to do tomorrow kind of I don't know, killed the virus or whatever in me, and I'm feeling much better today.
Either that, or now that it's over, it's all going to come back and hit you, and you're going to be sleeping all day. Well, either way, feel better, and I hope you have a great birthday, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Bill. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for getting Tom on. It was nice to chat with him. He was a great guest.
It was awesome. So now we just got to see if we can ever top that, which is going to be impossible. We should have waited.
We kind of started. We started at the top of the hill, or top of the mountain. So yeah, it's gonna be tough, but it should be fun.
All right, see you, Val.
All right, later.